Welcome to Biohacking with Brittany. I am so excited that you are listening today. I am a women's health biohacker and content creator, podcaster, nutritionist, all of the things. And I'm thrilled to have you listening to this episode. This episode was really interesting. We talked about a lot of different mindset things and basically intuition and intuitive gifts and healing others. And it was really interesting because I love talking about this type of thing. It's kind of out of my wheelhouse. So I feel like I just get to learn so much. And when I had Stephanie Kaplan on the show, I was really excited to just hear about her journey and her early life struggles and kind of how that totally changed the trajectory of her life and what she did about it. So we talk a lot about that path of healing. We talk about intuitive abilities and how she uses these to help other people. And then we talk about neuro-linguistic programming. So she became a certified NLP practitioner and how this can really play a role in emotional and physical healing. This was really interesting, very eye-opening for me. Like I said, I don't know a lot about this, so I really, really appreciated it. I think you're going to learn a lot. Yeah, I definitely think you are. And so definitely enjoy this episode. But before we get to it, let's do DM of the day. Here we go. This is where I just read a DM that I get that I think is worth sharing. Could be a podcast review, could be feedback, could be reply to a story I do on Instagram, who knows what it is. It's always anonymous. So I love when you guys reach out to me. Please do that. Please continue to do that. My DMs are where I'm most active and it's so easy. It's so easy to connect with you, right? Like it's just a message. And I find most people are on Instagram. We might not be posting a lot anymore, but we are in the DMs. Okay. And I find TikTok DMs are messy. I don't know. It's not the same. There's something different about TikTok DMs. Maybe it's because you can't DM certain people unless they allow it. I don't know. There's all these rules. Anyway. So this person wrote, she created my hormone balancing fertility boosting chocolate, which is a recipe I developed from scratch. And you make it at home. It's really easy. I will link it in the show notes and you can download it. It actually has over 1,000 downloads. It is like this chocolate recipe is the most popular recipe and freebie I have ever made, ever. Like when I look at the stats on how many people have downloaded this, it is astonishing. So anyway, she made this and she sent me a message and she said, "Thank you so much for developing this. I'm obsessed. I keep it in the freezer and I have one piece every single day. I love the pomegranate seeds in it. And I love that this is actually functional and doing something more for my health. I feel like I'm getting my little sweet treat that I love, but I'm also boosting my health at the same time. Keep doing what you're doing. And please, if you ever make this into a chocolate company, I will tell you right now that I will subscribe and definitely have this every single day. So thank you." I love the feedback, but it's really interesting because if you've been following me for a long time, you know that this is something that I've been thinking about developing for so long. And was actually going to develop a full-on chocolate line. So I was going to develop a line of chocolates, dedicated to women's health. Maybe this is something I do in the future. I actually think I had a name for it. I don't even remember what it was. But I wanted to do like different chocolates for like different chocolate bars for different things. So like one would be hormone balancing. One would be fertility. One would be postpartum. One would be maybe even helping with like breast milk supply. And then menopause and that type of thing. And it would be like functional chocolate, like chocolate that does more. Anyway, so I was really going to develop that. I was close to doing it. But lo and behold, things changed. I moved, I got pregnant, and yep. So that didn't happen. But you never know. It could still happen. I always have these like business ideas when I'm in this world. So we'll see. Thank you. You guys can download that recipe. It's so easy. And just so you know, if you haven't downloaded it yet, it actually comes with a lot of information. It's 3 pages in the PDF. The first PDF is like the instructions, the ingredients, what I recommend, why it's helpful. The second page is goes deep into the ingredients and how it actually improves your preconception health, hormones, and fertility, right? So it goes into like pumpkin seeds and pomegranate and cacao and maca and why it works. Because I really wanted to explain that. I didn't want to just be like, here's this recipe. Yeah, sure, it works. Like I was like, no, let's make this legit. And the third page is the nutrient breakdown. So I give you the fat, the carbs, the sugar, the different minerals in there, all the information. So it's honestly pretty great. Anyway, I'm just tooting my own horn here. You can go download it anytime. It's always going to be on my website, but definitely take a look at it if you haven't yet. And a shout out to Nuchido. Nuchido is a really, really special brand. Okay. So Nuchido creates a NAD supplement. Now, it's actually very important that you understand this. It doesn't give you the precursors to NAD like some of these other supplements. Instead, it gives you the precursors to what causes the decline in NAD. So when I did my podcast with Dr. Nicola Conlon, she explained this and she said, we need to think more root cause. And there's more scientific evidence that shows we can use different ingredients to boost those pathways versus let's just try to take these precursors to, increase NAD because it doesn't really work like that. So we had talked about that on that podcast episode. That episode's already out. So go and listen to that right now. If you want to, you can just search for it on my website if you want to do a deep dive into NAD. But this is the NAD supplement I take for that reason. And guys, I can't even believe this. It's actually been proven to increase your NAD levels within 1 week. 1 week. Can you believe that? Like they actually did a human clinical trial. Human, not rats, not mice, human. Anyway, so if you care about aging, you care about longevity, if you're feeling tired, having energy issues, want to boost your mitochondria, I would definitely take this. And I actually took it during my pregnancy. So yeah, because it's that important. And you can use my discount code biohackingbrittany. It will save you 10%. And a shout out to Bioptimizers. If you are looking for, some free magnesium, which who isn't at this point, definitely check out Bioptimizers. They are giving out free magnesium all summer long, which is wild. It's only until the end of August. Okay. So once September comes, this is over. So you can get a free bottle of magnesium. Go to the website. It's in my bio. It's in my, show notes. It's everywhere. And you will get a free bottle of magnesium. You don't get that on Amazon. You don't get that anywhere else. You have to go through my link. Okay. So yeah, you get free magnesium. Magnesium is in over 300 processes in the body. I actually just read 600, so I'm not sure, but it's a lot. And it is really related to things like stress, not sleeping well, sore muscles, digestion issues, hormonal imbalances, things like that. So I really, really suggest you go get yourself some magnesium. I take magnesium every single day. My entire family is on magnesium. Okay. I take 2 every single night. I need it for my sleep. You know what I'm going through right now? I need it for my sleep. Okay. So definitely check out that. Go through the link. You don't need a discount code for the magnesium. However, they have a ton of other great products like their HCl breakthrough product, which is all about increasing stomach acid. They have their probiotic digestive enzyme, things like that. And you can use Biohacking Brittany in all capitals, and that will give you a nice fat discount, which we love. So I love Bioptimizers. Great brand. Enjoy this episode. If you have any questions, send me a DM on Instagram. That's where I'm most active right now. Emails, not so much. If you've emailed me and I haven't responded, there's a reason. So send me a message on Instagram. Thank you for listening, and I will catch you very soon for another episode. Welcome to Biohacking with Brittany. I am thrilled that you are joining us today on this episode. We are diving into the very inspiring story of Stephanie Kaplan, who is a former tech sales professional who transformed into a holistic health and life coach. She has had quite a lot of personal tragedies. Oh my gosh, can't speak, and struggles. And it has led to significant health challenges, which we are going to dive into. She discovered her intuitive gifts and the power of neuro-linguistic programming, which I'm super, super interested in. And I was kind of like researching before this episode on all of that and what that entails. So I am very curious about that. We're going to dive into mindset and learn how to kind of like reclaim our power from our mind, from within type of thing. So Stephanie, welcome to the show.
So excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited you're here too. So I know that you went through some really tough things when you were younger with your family, and it affected you emotionally and physically and leading up to health challenges. Can you kind of dive into that part of your life and really what that looked like for you?
Yeah, definitely. So when I was younger, when I was 14, my father passed away tragically. It was kind of out of nowhere on the day of my sister's graduation. And it was this kind of crazy moment that happened in our family's life. Anyone that's gone through tragedy, I'm sure, understands this, especially when it kind of happens out of nowhere. You're not expecting it. And I grew up in a Catholic Italian household where talking about our feelings was not something that we commonly did. So after my dad had passed away, it kind of put us all in our own world, if you will, right? Dealing with the emotions and the tragedy and what it meant for us kind of by ourselves, right? My mom was doing the best that she could, also dealing with this, yeah, her whole life blowing up on the same day. And so that had led me to all of these different health problems down the road, right? I never knew that it was connected to my emotions or me not addressing these traumas that I had and these unaddressed emotions. But I had had all these terrible stomach problems, not going into too much detail because I don't want to be too TMI here, but I was going to the bathroom like 10, 12 times a day. I had blood in my stool often. And so we were trying to figure out what was wrong. So I was in and out of doctors. They always thought that it was like colon cancer or something related to the colon, which I can totally understand, especially when there's blood in the stool. That was always like the biggest alarm bell that they wanted to focus on. So before I turned 25, I had 3 colonoscopies. And so they kept giving me colonoscopies and it was inconclusive every time. There was nothing wrong with my colon. And I lived in Florida at the time. And so when I moved to New York, I had a period of time, it was like a week, I lost 12 pounds and I've been my same exact weight my entire life. And so that was like a huge alarm bell. I was feeling really malnourished. So I went to my GI doctor again and same thing, right? They were like, let's get you in for a colonoscopy. So I had done some research at this time around like being gluten free and I heard about celiac. This was back in like 2015. So it wasn't as common to be gluten free as it is now. And so I had asked her about it and she was kind of, for lack of a better term, like gaslighting me into it's definitely colon. We need to just be colon. And I had just pushed, listen, if I'm already going under again, I've already done this procedure. If you can give me a colonoscopy, it would be super helpful so I can just see if there's anything else going on. And so that was where I had found out at that moment that I had celiac disease. So going gluten-free like changed the trajectory of my health. And then kind of over time, things started popping up. So I'm happy to talk more about that, but let me know if there's any questions.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Yeah, celiac disease is like not something to mess around with. Like it's so different from having a gluten sensitivity. Celiac disease is very, very serious, and like the threshold of the amount of gluten that you can tolerate is basically zero. Whereas gluten sensitivity, like you could still eat it and it could have these like adverse effects, but it's not nearly as detrimental as celiac disease. Just for those people listening who don't maybe not know the difference. I'm curious, like kind of like the timeline of your symptoms popping up. Like, first of all, I'm very sorry about what happened with your family. And like, I could only imagine what that was like to go through at such a young age. I'm curious, like, did your symptoms like start shortly after that? Like, do you like, How tied in do you think it was to what happened to you when you were 14?
Yeah, it is crazy. Like I didn't make the correlation until I started getting into like the energetic world, but I was 14, I was a freshman, and I recall all of these issues throughout high school. Like before then, I was not having any bowel or stomach problems. I did have eczema as a child growing up. That was really the only other thing that I had, which it's crazy to think about now because eczema is associated with celiac disease. It's a common thing that people with celiac disease has. So that was the only thing that was pre my father's passing, but it lined up like almost to a T, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is really crazy when things like that happen. And I'm glad, like, we're skipping forward a bit here, but I'm glad that you can now look back and kind of connect those dots because I do think that is important. So, so you went into this tech sales profession, and what kind of shifted you to say, okay, maybe I actually want to look at holistic health and become potentially a coach and help other people? Like, what did that look like?
Yeah. So that's also another crazy story. So I'll give like the brief like synopsis of kind of how this all happened, but it's like a pretty crazy story. For a year before my wedding, I was seeing these monarch butterflies all over the place. And I wasn't spiritual. I grew up Catholic, but I kind of like didn't really like fully associate it with it as much anymore growing up. And I was seeing these butterflies all over. Like I would go travel to Europe, I would go to a friend's house and they were like prominently like landing on me, fluttering around me. And so the night before my wedding, I like subconsciously falling asleep was like, Dad, if you are the butterfly, please come to the wedding tomorrow. And, the day my wedding comes, I totally forget I say that. It's like, getting into the groove of getting ready and planning for the day. And we walk down the aisle. We go upstairs to the rooftop where our cocktail hour was. And one of my friends came up to me and was like, oh my God, like what a Stephanie thing for you to do to like release that monarch butterfly to follow you down the aisle during your wedding. And
Wow.
at that moment, I remembered that I had done that. And I was like, holy shit. Like I started crying. And after that, I couldn't get that out of my head. And it was like, wow, that's like an insane sign that you like can't make up. And I had always wanted to see a medium, but I wasn't really around people that like were into that, or I just like didn't know where I would find someone. And so I kind of like set this intention that I wanted to see a medium. And I am scrolling on TikTok and I see this girl. She's this like beautiful blonde young girl. And she tells a story on TikTok around how you need to trust her intuition. She's a medium and she walked into this Crate and Barrel. She had this like urge to walk in and find some girl named like Sarah. I forget the name. And so she's like, you know what? Never mind. I'm just going to buy something and check out. As she's checking out, she's like, you know what? I'm going to ask this girl, do you know a girl named Sarah? And she's like, oh, I am Sarah. And so she has to explain to her she's a medium and her mom was coming through. She had a message for her and the girl started crying because her mom had passed away 2 weeks ago. So I was like, wow, I feel really connected to this girl. I started following her on Instagram and I was like, you know what? Like, I'm just going to book it. What's the worst thing that can happen? I had no expectations. And this medium read changed like the trajectory of my life. So I had this medium read. It was supposed to be 30 minutes. My dad came through. It was like such a beautiful reading. And then the second half of the reading, she ended up like staying on with me for an hour and a half. Basically, my higher self was like, took over the session and was basically telling her that I needed to like get on path. And so she was really just sharing with me like some future state stuff for myself and where she sees me and being in alignment. And I had over the years, I think I had put together like 10 different pitch decks of different companies that I presented to my husband that I wanted to create. So it was something that I had always desired and I really wanted. I just never fully believed in myself that I could do it. So after that session, I was like, I'm going to start brainstorming what are things that I love. Like if I were to start a company based on things that I love, what would that be? And I look back, it like feels so basic, but this is also like a message for anyone, like whatever lights you up, it doesn't matter what that is. Right. So I was like, I like health. I like working out. I like nutrition. I like shopping, like was writing them out. And then I'm like, okay, what do people come to me for? I was like, wow, everyone comes to me for advice on like diet, nutrition, and non-toxic swaps. And I started getting into that world because I started having other health issues when I got off of birth control. and I had SIBO and some other stomach issues that came later. So I started getting into that world for myself. And I was like, oh, I think there's something here. A lot of people don't know about the toxins that are in our food and in our products. But let me start sharing about that. So I went to school to be a health coach, and I launched a company called Spring Forward Club, which is all like blog content and video content around different ways that you can live a healthier lifestyle. And then I included like mindset work in that as well.
Are you feeling drained, struggling with low energy, or noticing that your body just isn't bouncing back like it used to? The culprit might be declining NAD plus levels in your cells. NAD plus is a vital molecule found in every cell of your body. It converts nutrients into energy and activates essential cellular processes. But as we age, our NAD plus levels naturally decline, leading to reduced energy, slower recovery, and overall poor cellular health. Stresses like intense workouts, disrupted sleep, and alcohol can make this decline even worse. But thankfully, there is good news. I love to use Nuchido Time Plus. This is a breakthrough NAD supplement designed to combat these issues. I actually get asked all the time what NAD supplement I use, and this is the one. It is backed by a patented formulation and clinically proven in a double-blinded studies. Nuchido Time Plus targets the root causes of NAD plus decline. It uses advanced science to boost your NAD plus levels, supporting better energy, faster recovery, and enhancing overall health. I have an exclusive offer just for my listeners, and you can use code biohackingbrittany at checkout to get 10% off of your order. Don't let declining NAD levels hold you back any longer. Elevate your health and unlock your full potential with Nuchido Time Plus. Remember, that's code biohackingbrittany for 10% off your order. Take charge of your cellular health today. Wow, I love that. And I love those stories that you shared about the medium. I've had a few moments like that, like very different, but it's so weird when you kind of tap into that intuition and then you think about something and then it happens like shortly after like that. It's like, it's spooky almost. And yeah, I don't even know how to like put words to it, but I've had it happen in different ways throughout my life, and I always remember it too, which is the funny thing. Like even things that happened when I was like a kid and weird stuff like that. Not weird, but like it's really hard to explain to people who maybe haven't like experienced it before, but it's very interesting. And I love the trajectory of your career. I think a lot of people kind of do that. I love that you took time to think, okay, where do my passions lie? And like, how do I actually want to help other people? Not, oh, what's popular right now? What's trending? How can I make money? It's more of like, what does the world actually need from me? And like, what do I care about? And how can I provide that?
Yeah, totally. And that's even how it's like continuously evolved. Like I still do a lot on the health and nutrition side, but really my focus is on the energetics, and I've learned to master and use my intuition. And so there's a huge need for that. And it's what lights my soul up. So for me, it was like I was always following my why. I always knew I wanted to help people. And as I'm going through the journey, right, more things are presenting themselves to me, and I'm just following what lights me up. And my end goal is just really helping other people like stand in their power, remember who they are, learn how the brain and the body and the beliefs work, how our thoughts are creating our reality, and how they can understand this and reprogram to just like live life in their standing in their power and being their best self.
I love that. So when you're working with a client and you potentially want to support them and their own intuition and tapping into it, how do you kind of start with somebody? Because there's so many people who kind of have it almost like turned off and kind of ignore it or don't think it's actually their voice. Like, how do you start with somebody who is potentially just kind of so out of sync with their intuition?
Yeah. So there's a few things like typically stage one is like, we have to undo all the like shit that was put onto you through programming, through, your beliefs, through childhood that is kind of like running the show, and really get like clear on your mind, right? Like you kind of have to remove all the stuff that's in the way, if you will. Like I always think of like we all have intuition. It is like our innate gift of being here. Every single person can tap into their intuition the way that I have. And people have natural born gifts. So like that's what a psychic is, if you will. Like they just have a natural gift that they're using. But being able to actually like hone in on your intuition is like a craft. It's an art and a science. And it's really directing where you are asking and getting information from, right? There are our higher selves. There's the soul self. There's soul, there are guides. There's angels. There's the thought field. Where are you like asking your questions to be able to get the answers and honing in on, right? So where I start with like teaching intuition, if you've kind of gone through the healing process and have learned to kind of like quiet down the voice and get rid of the like thought noise, it's really understanding like how, from a basic standpoint, how you can feel like a yes or no in your body, how you can use different colors and things around you to get answers using things like pendulums. And then you can kind of work your way up, but asking questions, it's like learning a new language. You have to learn how to ask the question correctly, right? You want to say it in like a statement. You need to direct who you're asking the question to. You have to trust it immediately. So those are like ways that you can start to hone in on it. But if anyone was like questioning that they had the ability, it's like I always use the example, like if somebody walked into a room and you see and notice them, can you pick up on their energy without them saying anything? Like where you're like, I like that person, or I don't, I want to go like talk to them. Something's radiating about them. Or you're like, ooh, I'd like that person stay far away. That's your intuition, right? And so I would say to someone, when that happens, so next time that you have that experience and you have this like feeling of I do or don't want to talk to them, think about where that was in your body. Was it a feeling that made you think that? Was it like a voice that you heard? Was it like this deep knowing? Did you see like this red light that like flashed by them that was like, ooh, light red, no? Because we all have different ways that our intuition comes in. You can open up all the different channels, but like for me, feeling in my body is a prominent way, kind of like how it started. And I have kind of advanced my like hearing, and I have this like deep knowing. So it's like utilizing multiple forms of intuition to be able to give like precise and accurate information.
I love that. Yeah. It's so funny you talk about these types of things because I talk about this stuff as well. Like I'll say the energy's off or the energy's weird in here, or you know what I mean? Like, and you pick up on it. And I've done that for a long time, but how do you like, what is the difference between someone having a high emotional intelligence, as in like being able to read someone walking in a room versus that intuitive piece? Or do you think they're kind of like the same?
Yeah, they're the same from my view, right? Like it's so to like kind of take a step back from like a science standpoint, that like we are light beings, we are energetic beings in a physical body, and everything in this universe is composed of light, right? All matter is composed of light, and with light, light carries information. So we are just reading the information, right? In the, for the example of like reading people. So everyone is able to like tap in and read that. I always think of like, we all have this connection to source, to the divine, however, whatever word that resonates with you, to like our parent energy. And I always think of this like spotlight that is connected from the top of our head to the sky, right? To source. And for the spotlight to like go directly up, there can't be anything in the way to like block it. The problem is we have all of this stuff on us, right? It's like all of our stress, it's all of our beliefs, it's all of our self-talk that's kind of blocking the light from like directly connecting up. And when you're able to like clear all the blocks and actually like connect into yourself, and when you start to realize like the power that you hold, you're able to kind of like clear that space. And I don't know, like if anyone's heard, but like on the podcast, they're into the like that life is a giant mirror, right? Like everything is reflecting how we feel on the inside, right? Like no person, situation, thing can make us feel a way that we don't already feel on the inside. So everything is just mirroring back to us how we feel. And I always think about like life is not happening to you. That's more of the like victim mindset. This happened to me. these are the cards that I was dealt. Of course, this happened again. And you're in this place of like, this is the life that I have to live and there's nothing I can do about it. Versus life is happening for you and everything that is happening is showing you something that you need to uncover, something about yourself that you need to shift. And so every situation, person, experience, everything that is happening is trying to show you something. Like I think of the universe was trying to get your attention, right? It's doing it the best way that it knows how to be able to like, hey, you're asking for this huge manifestation or desire. I'm literally giving it to you. I'm showing you the thing you need to shift to be able to get that thing, right? But we all miss it and see it as coincidence or this thing that's happening to us, where it's like, if you can actually break down what this is showing you, how it is making you feel. And this is where the emotional IQ stuff comes in, right? Really breaking down how we feel, how it's something making us feel. It's not the truth, but we all are living off of our own perception based on our own beliefs. So if somebody says something to you and it triggers you, how is that making you feel? And then where are you being that way towards yourself so that you can learn to shift it in yourself so the mirror of life can reflect something else back to you.
I love that. I really, really love that. It's very self-reflective, obviously, as mirrors are. But yeah, I think that's really interesting. And I can see that for sure. It's interesting when people react to other things that people say or do and are maybe hypersensitive to it. And whenever that happens, and even with myself, when I find I'm very sensitive to something someone has said, I think, oh, this is a part of me that I actually need to work on. Like, this is something that I have not healed. There's some sort of wound there that it has kind of been in the background for who knows how long. Usually it's a lot longer than we care to admit. And it's being reflected from this person. And when the person says whatever thing, in reality, it actually might not be that big of a deal or like that bad or anything like that. But it's just so interesting when people react a certain way to it. So if someone goes through something like, let's say, like a breakup, like, and maybe they've had a few bad breakups in their life, how do they go from that victim mentality of like, wow, why does this always happen to me? I always choose the wrong guy, or whatever the narrative is, like that victim mentality. How do they shift? Like, how do they start that process of like, whoa, what is the like world or earth or life trying to teach me from this? Like, I don't know. I sometimes when I just think of a friend recently who went through a really bad breakup and the guy was really shady and like not great, like just really did some really bad things. And so I think about her in this situation of like, he on a realistic, I cannot speak, I'm pregnant. Sorry, my baby brain. On a reality, he did these bad things, right? Like they are bad things. But how does she shift that from, okay, even though those are objectively bad things that have happened, what is this trying to teach me? Like, I don't know. How do you shift from that, you know?
Yeah, totally. It's a great question. And there's a layer of like being able to take radical responsibility for your life. And you have to be open and ready to hear that. And everybody's on their own journey and they're ready to kind of like take control of their life when they are, right? So it's not a matter of like changing people. It's when they're ready, being able to help and guide them. But I like to think about this. If you've had, 5 relationships and you look back to them, and they all made you feel the same way, right? They ended in the same way. The pattern is very clear. Either they've all left you in this way that made you feel abandoned, or, you felt like you weren't good enough in that, or what was the pattern, right? If you look back, if that happened to you 5 times, there are no coincidences in life, and that's a pattern, and you are the common denominator, right? And how can you use that instead of being like, I'm the worst, it's the common denominator, of course it's me, I'm the problem. You think of like, yes, you are, but you also are the solution. That also means you have the power to actually change what you do going forward. So what I like to think about, and it's called reflections, like a reflection happens where it's showing you something. It can either be like a situation, it can be like a thing, it can be a person, right? That's reflecting something back to you that you need to shift. So what I would say is break down, like, how does that make you feel? Right? So for an example of like, if someone has a business and they're like, clients aren't buying from me, they're not buying what I'm selling, like maybe what I'm doing is not good. That's the victim mentality. You're like, why is what I'm doing is wrong? And how am I the problem? And I'm the worst, right? Versus, how is it making you feel? Okay, it's making me feel like people aren't prioritizing me. Okay, so then I would say to you, where in your life are you not prioritizing yourself? Because everything is just a reflection of how we're being towards ourselves. It's not the truth. It's just how we're being and how we feel. And it can be in a different area of life. So there's 8 areas of life. And so you may be like, there's also a ton of different laws of the universe, same as like the law of gravity. There is the law of reflections, is what I'm talking about. There's the law of opposing forces, which basically means where you have the most attention or where you care about something the most is where your reflections in life are going to show up. So for someone who cares a lot about relationship, they want to be in a relationship so bad, they're desiring it. That's like their dream. That's all they want. The reflections are going to show up there because that's how, the universe and your higher self is going to get your attention. It's like, she cares a lot about relationships. Let's show her there all of the limiting beliefs that she has to change by having this person reflect it back to her so she can shift it. So it's always going to show up so like, if you're not feeling valuable at work, right? You're saying to yourself that you don't feel valuable, and you're kind of that loop of thoughts to memories to emotions to beliefs is kind of like in your brain that you're not good enough, you're not valuable. That's probably going to show up in like relationships where your kids are going to reflect that back to you in a way to trigger you, to show you that you have to shift that in the other area of life, and then it will shift everywhere else.
If you're feeling out of sync with your hormones or struggling with fertility, I totally get it. I've been there and it can be so frustrating, but I found a delicious way to support your reproductive health. I have developed hormone balancing, fertility boosting chocolate. This isn't just any type of chocolate. It's packed with adaptogens like maca root and antioxidants from cacao and pomegranate. These ingredients can help regulate your hormones and support your preconception health and fertility. You need to download this recipe ASAP, okay? Because it's more than just a treat. It's a powerful way to nourish your body from the inside out. Imagine indulging in a rich, delicious chocolate that not only satisfies your sweet tooth, but also boosts your wellness. Whether you're trying to conceive, balance your hormones, or just crave a healthy indulgence that you get to make from home, where you get to control all of the ingredients and also optimize your health, this recipe is perfect for you. Don't miss out on this tasty, fertility enhancing, optimizing health solution. You can go to biohackingbrittany.com/pages/fertility-chocolate and download the recipe for free right now. Go for it. It's just right there waiting for you. It's linked in my show notes. It's linked on my website. You're going to find it super, super easy. So treat yourself to better health, one delicious bite at a time. Wow. I love that. Yeah, that requires a lot of introspection, like a lot of reflection to like think on those different areas of your life and how you're showing up. So like, I feel like my friend who's going through this breakup, so again, like there were these things that happened that were objectively bad. But what you're saying is, okay, how did it make you feel? So say she says, I felt very disrespected and I don't feel respected by men, like even that. Then I guess her next question would be like, where in my life do I not respect myself? Like where through my career, through my family, through all of these different areas, I might not be showing enough love and respect to myself. Is like that kind of the thought pattern that would potentially occur?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, it's not like, oh, I'm not respecting myself in the way that like he was. It's probably self-love, and self-love meaning your ability to be able to put yourself first. So not respecting yourself by putting yourself last. So anytime someone has a need, you're pushing down what you actually want and you're doing something for someone else, even though you don't want to, right? That's not respecting yourself. So it's looking at those key things. And, I help customers my clients actually go through the process of this with different patterns that are going on and actually uncovering what the real root cause is. And it typically tends to go back to, childhood and subconscious brain formed. And it also typically ties into like two root causes in the beginning, which is self-love and self-image. So, and it's self-love is, I remember when someone first told me that my self-love levels were low when I started out here, and I was like, my ego was like, no, I love myself. But it isn't about that, right? It's about your ability to be able to put yourself first. And I always put myself last because growing up, I was the one that kind of like had my shit together. So I always thought, well, I'm okay. I don't have to worry about me. And my family always told me that growing up. We never have to worry about her. She's smart. She has it. That meant I put myself last in everything. I'm good. Let's make sure I focus on everyone else. Right? So how do you fix your self-love? And then self-image is really around the way you perceive yourself and how you think other people perceive you. And so it really always boils down to those key like core wounds. And then as you start to like heal some of the old programming that stems from childhood based on how the subconscious brain is formed, based on how our thoughts are tied to memories, and those memories have strong emotions, and it puts us in this loop, it's breaking that pattern of that. And then you can start to like really look into everything. But I heard you have like some episodes on like the emotional root cause of a lot of health things. And I do that with all of my clients. And I'm even to a point like I look at every single thing as a reflection. So like, for example, I cut my right thumb 2 days ago, and like that is a reflection for me. Everything that is happening is tied to a thought. Everything that's in the physical has to stem from a thought. Like in order to be able to create a cell phone or an iPhone, you had to have the thought that you could do that first, and then you put it into the physical. So the same thing happens with our thoughts, and then anything that shows up, and it manifests in the body the same way it does in anything that's reflecting in our outer world. So the way that I break that down, everything has an emotional root cause, right? So like or punishing yourself. Thumb is like holding on to things, and fingers are all around like the details. So like the power behind the details. And then the left side of the body is our feminine side. So that's like what you receive. So anything that you may be receiving, how are you like judging that? And the right side of your body is your masculine side, and like what you put out into the world. So breaking down what happened to my thumb was actually me like harping on the details around what I was putting out around my career, and then like punishing myself for what I was doing. And like that made me an energetic match to like cut myself.
Wow, that's so interesting to like break that down and connect that. Wow. Yeah. And it also makes me think, I've heard before about the right side of the body being masculine and the left side of the body being feminine. And it definitely makes me reflect on my body and the aches and pains I've been having. So yeah, like I said, I'm pregnant. I'm in my third trimester, and I've been having back pain only on my lower left side. And I was thinking about it yesterday, and the baby, his head is like on the left side. And so I think there's like more pressure there and whatever, but maybe there's something more to it in terms of like the feminine energy. And I would have to like sit down and like be quiet and actually like reflect on that, because obviously pregnancy and birth and babies is a very, very feminine thing. And so I wonder if that's like point of tension that I'm holding on to about being in my feminine with becoming a mom for the first time. I don't know. But it's just interesting, just like to think about like body mapping almost in that way.
Yeah. So everything has like a meaning, like every disease, every ailment, every part of the body has like a specific meaning. And then there is like a emotional root that's specific to you. So actually like lower back is like fear around money or like finances. And it's like not all of these like reasons, they're not the truth. They're just like how you may be perceiving something. Be like worry, and if it's like specifically on the left-hand side is about what you're receiving, right? Be like fear or worry. And it doesn't mean that it like there is an issue. It's just like thoughts that may pop in. So it's like, for example, when we have a thought, we have old memories, which is why it's super important to reprogram your memories, because every time we recall a memory, we change it. So you can use that, which is already happening, to your advantage in changing memories. But the problem is, right, like we have a thought. It seems like a simple thought that doesn't mean much, but it's like, okay, we feel like, all right, fear on finances. There's memories that are popping up from when we were younger. We haven't healed our limiting beliefs around money and how it comes in and how it flows. And that memory is tied to the thought. There's an emotion that's tied to it. And there's multiple memories. And so that one thought has now triggered a belief from when you were younger, how your parents grew up, that until you shift, right? Each time you have like a thought that may feel simple in nature is actually like a quick process that our brain goes through to like tie a memory, emotion, and then it kind of takes over your body. And then that is why the body will show you in different areas what it is trying to get you to reprogram.
Wow, I love that. And that's so interesting. It's about money and fear and worry. Like as I prepare for maternity leave in my business for the first time, it's not that I am worried about not having money. It's just like a shift for me to say, oh, okay, I'm actually going into a bit of a maintenance mode for my business for the first time ever. How does that like financially feel? Oh, okay, this is different. So it's definitely something I'm processing right now. And I'm fine with that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not something that, it's not something that I don't want to do or anything like that. Like, but it's just new, I guess. And maybe that's what it is. It's like a new way of interacting with money that I have to go through now with my business, which is showing up in my body, which makes sense. Like, so yeah, I mean, I think I need to do some reflection on that and like think about how I could heal that, because it would be great if I didn't have this back pain anymore versus just trying to like stretch it out or use a foam roller or just like more of the physical therapies that a lot of us kind of turn to rather than looking within of like what might be causing it.
Yeah, totally. And one, like you're obviously super self-aware. So like when you hear things like that, they'll click and, you'll note, oh, wow, okay, I was having this, thought, which is another great way to like be aware of what is going on to then be able to say, oh, I was doing that. I can, shift this quickly. And like the thought of like the physical thing. So we're energetic beings in a physical body. So you do have to do 100% of the energetic work and 100% the physical work, which, there are times where you may need to do a physical thing as well. Sometimes you don't, right? The emotional root is like the key thing that you need to do to shift it. So it does require both. And this is also where I'll use my intuition in some of the neuroscience tools of what are tools that you can do to shift that? What are the energetic tools that you need to do? And then if any physical tools, what do you need to do there? But for example, I just had a client who had these bladder issues that were going on for 3 years. She went to multiple different urologists and GI and, her primary and all, in and out of doctors trying to figure out what it was. They couldn't figure out what it was. She wanted many different antibiotics, medications. She changed her diet completely and it wouldn't go away. It kept coming back. And so working with me, doing all of the energetic and emotional stuff, this was all actually around like past experiences that she had with men that she hadn't fully processed. And she had this anger towards it. Doing all of the energetic tools and emotional tools that I gave her, in 2 weeks, all of her problems had gone away. She had like a level 10 pain every time she would go to the bathroom, and she doesn't have the pain anymore. So it's wild, the emotions and energy we hold on to in our body and how it shows up in the world until we've processed fully those emotions.
Wow. Wow. That is so interesting. I actually want to ask you about two different things that can show up. So the first one, I have a lot of listeners who are, going through fertility, coming off of birth control for the first time, PCOS, endometriosis, irregular cycles, anything that is in that like reproduction area. What is kind of related to that you've seen on this like energetic field that potentially we might or they might not be looking at?
Yeah. So like a few things I want to like just note. I know it's like super sensitive of, when people can't get pregnant and when you're going on through these issues. So I just want to like state that as well. Just like empathy, totally understand how that's a really like tough and hard thing to go through. And I just say that because sometimes, right, it's me hearing what the problem is. Like, it isn't to say like, I'm the problem, I'm all these things, this is why I can't get, and like really beating yourself up on it, because the whole point of the emotional and energetic standpoint is to do less of the beating up and being hard on yourself and all of the judgments that we have, because this is the emotion that we're holding on to that are causing these things right in the first place. So on the pregnancy side, like where there's this like lack of being able to get pregnant, it depends on like what the issue is, because each thing is going to have like a specific underlying reason. But like the general of like not being able to get pregnant is like not feeling like we can bring something unique or special into the world, like the value of being able to do it. So there's a lot of like, if you think of the thing, it always tends to tie pretty closely to it, right? Like eyes are like, what are you not seeing? Nose is being able to like filter through things, right? So pregnancy is all about bringing something new into the world. So feeling like you have the ability to bring something special into the world. And this can just be around something like, career or relationships. Like there's nothing too small that isn't valuable to bring in. And something I just want to tie back to, and I can go through some other, women's health things of some of the emotional root causes, but we are all like so special and unique, and we are valuable. And we've lost this like inherent value and worth that we hold by just being us and just being born. Just like when a baby is born, we tend to them. The baby is valuable. They're not worried about if they cry or this is going to happen, or if they, can't walk on the first try. They're not beating themselves up and give up on failure, right? They keep trying. They have this like innate worth. They are just worthy for living, for breathing, for being on this earth. And we should all feel that way. And we've lost this like, and it's through programming, it's through societal programming, it's through our parents' programming, it's through school, right? Think about you go to school as a kid. If you're not good at school and you don't get good grades, you basically are like looked at as you're less than. But we need to look at everyone as special and unique, right? Like this person has great communication skills. This person thinks outside the box. This person's really good at math and science. And it's all tied to like our purpose of what we're here for. And your purpose could just be to raise an amazing child, right? Like it doesn't need to be this grandiose thing, because we all have these lessons that we're here to overcome on earth. And they could be something as simple as being able to put yourself first, right? Like that could be the lesson that you're going through in life, and everything is helping you overcome that. But we've kind of lost our way and lost like the connection to ourselves and the value that we bring. Like nobody can be Stephanie. Nobody can be Brittany. Like you are the best at being you. Like you can say the same thing as someone else, but they're not going to say it in the way that you say it with your voice. And no one can be you. Like no one can take that away from you. So I'll bring that up because it's like, it's just such a key thing to all sickness and disease, and not being able to produce something really is just tying back to like ourselves.
Wow. I love that. The womb is related to creativity and manifestation and bringing things into the world. So it just makes so much sense that you kind of like can make that connection. And again, it asks people to do a lot of self-reflection of, okay, is this something I'm actually feeling? And is this just manifesting through fertility struggles? And then how do I work on it? And then maybe how does that end up helping me with fertility?
Yeah, totally. And the pregnancy piece is there's two people involved. So there, stuff with the husband as well, or partner, whoever it is that they're trying to make a baby with. It could be either side. So that's kind of the like, if you look back at it, but same thing like PCOS is super common right now. And I think back to like when there are these diseases that tend to like be super prominent, right? Like there was a time when like everyone had HPV, and HPV was the huge thing that they were needed to get vaccinated for and all of this. And now like PCOS, I feel like every other person I talk to has it, right? So there's always layers to think about, like, where is the state of the world in? Because a polarized state right now as well, right? Like in general of feeling out of control in the world and all of these things that are going on in the narrative that is showing up like in the world, that also ties into what we believe about ourselves. So like PCOS is around like not having enough power for anything, like feeling like you don't have enough power for anything based on the things that like you want to create. So like feeling like you don't have the power to have like these good ideas, or you have like failed attempts at like ideas or ambitions, not knowing like your full potential or feeling like you're good enough, right? And then like being critical about that, right? So like kind of taking yourself in this loop is like tied to PCOS. A lot of the womb stuff are going to all be similar around like, ovarian cysts, around bad ideas from the world that are creating these limiting beliefs in you. And then that impacts your ability to like create something unique or remarkable in the world.
If there's one mineral you should be worried about not getting enough of, it's magnesium. Magnesium is the body's master mineral. It's powerful and it's involved in over 600 critical reactions, including hormone balance, stress management, sleep quality. Even digestion is influenced by the presence of magnesium. But there are two big problems here. One, magnesium has been largely missing from US soil since the 1950s, which explains why it's estimated that up to 75% of the population may be deficient. And two, most supplements contain only one or two forms of magnesium, when in reality, your body needs 7. The only magnesium supplement on the market that has the full spectrum of all 7 forms is called Magnesium Breakthrough by Bioptimizers. This is my favorite. I've been taking it for over 2 years. That's why I'm so excited to tell you that I was able to arrange a killer deal for you for this summer. You won't find this deal on Amazon or even on the company's own website. This deal is exclusively for my audience, and it's for a very, very limited time and only while supplies last. So right now you can actually get a bottle of Magnesium Breakthrough for free. Like actually, you get it for free. I'm not kidding. So go now to my website that they made for me, which is magbreakthrough.com/biohackingbrittany and get your bottle of Magnesium Breakthrough for free today. Again, that's magbreakthrough.com/biohackingbrittany and you get it for free. So go now. It's linked in my show notes of this episode and it's linked on my website so you can find it really easily, or just DM me and I will send it to you as well. All of us should be on magnesium and this is my absolute favorite one to take. Yeah, that's so interesting. There was actually, I heard about it, I think a couple months ago. There was a new study that came out on PCOS and it assessed women's histories when they were kids and teenagers, whatever age it was. And they found one of the common denominators was actually a history of sexual, not necessarily abuse, but I forget the word they used, or assault, but being sexualized or objectified or anything where they were treated as less than, what we would want. And there was this common denominator. I forget what the statistic was of how many women with PCOS now went through that as a kid, as a teenager, something happened, someone said something, whatever. And then if you think about the symptoms of PCOS, which is like excess male hormones, right? The inability to ovulate, like these things that are, it's almost like when that whatever incident happened, someone said something, who knows how bad it was, but maybe you internalized that and started to suppress your feminine self. And then the male, the masculine energy kind of took over. And then you kind of start to see these symptoms of PCOS show up. So I just can't believe they did that type of study. And it was so interesting because I thought I had PCOS. I had like a mild situation with it, like not official diagnosis. So I went deep into like all of the PCOS world. And you're so right. Like it is popping up everywhere now. So I just wonder if it has something to do with like women's oppression in general and then it like showing up in our bodies.
Yeah, totally. And that's so amazing that they did that. It's really cool to see how there is more and more people talking about the emotions kind of underneath, because I feel like it's the missing key. It's, if you're in the functional world and, biohacking and really understanding how you can utilize things in the physical to change how you feel, that has been so beautiful to see the evolution of that. But there's still this like emotional component that isn't fully addressed. And there's totally a layer to, in my view, like the fertility issues on the female side and all of these different, diseases and diagnoses that are coming up. And it is us being in this like masculine energy and trying to control and prove and do. There's additional emotions that come up, but our body is always speaking to us. And it's so cool as women that we get our period every month because there's so many clues in your period, right? If you have cramps, that is not normal. If you have short cycles, if you have long cycles, if you have heavy periods, if you're not getting a period, right? Like these are all clues every month that we're getting around what is going on from an emotional standpoint. The problem is we've just kind of been put in this place of bloating is normal. Just take this, pill and then you won't bloat anymore. Or take this pill before you eat food and you won't bloat. Or, just do these 5 things when you have cramps. Cramps are normal. They're just, it's not. It's our body's way of trying to show us something. And most people are missing it, right? Because it's like, well, I've always had cramps.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a difference between common and normal. I think we forget that. Like if PCOS is common or cramps are common, it doesn't mean it's normal for the human body to actually go through that. And it's very easy to kind of get that confused. And I've definitely had that confused as well. So I thank you for sharing that. I think that's super helpful. I want to dive into neuro-linguistic programming. I think we're kind of touching on it, but can you kind of define this and how does this really impact how you work with your clients?
Yeah. So like neuro-linguistic programming itself is basically just like changing someone's thoughts and behaviors to help them like achieve a specific outcome. And there are different like tools and techniques that help people like become more self-aware or learn how to reframe thoughts and programming and get to the root cause. So there's different types of NLP techniques that I will use in my sessions depending on the need for the client and kind of where they're at. But for example, Tony Robbins, most people know who he is, right? He has studied neuro-linguistic programming. What he does is neuro-linguistic programming. It's super common. So it's just like techniques on really just helping you understand your thoughts and behaviors and get to change them and reframe them in a way to work for you.
I love that. Yeah. I think I read that on the average person has about like 60,000 thoughts a day, which is insane. But obviously, I guess that makes sense because like your brain is kind of always running. So how do you, and now obviously not all of those thoughts are reflective of you and are accurate or true. I mean, who knows how many are accurate or true, to be honest. So like, how do you take that many thoughts and think like, okay, I'm going to change these thoughts to have a better outcome. Like it almost seems like such a big daunting task.
Yeah. So it's really the beliefs that matter. We're always going to have thoughts. And it's also being able to catch your thoughts. I always tell people if you don't meditate, it's a great place to start in becoming aware of your thoughts, right? There are beautiful health benefits of meditation, but I think about it more from a standpoint of being able to connect in with yourself. This is how you can open up more ways to your intuition and connecting back into yourself, into your subconscious brain, and getting to really look at your thoughts from a observer standpoint, right? When we're in the thick of it, we have a whole entire conversation in our brain with these thoughts, and it's tying to the beliefs that we hold. So basically it's like you have a thought that you don't have enough money. That's connecting to a memory of when you didn't have money, these past times. And then it's having you identify with that thought, which then puts you in this loop and you're like, you can't get out of it. And then you try to change the thought. You try to think positive, and then you find yourself back in that loop. This is why like consciously when people are like, I want to lose weight, but then they find themselves back in the pattern or they ate the cookie that night, right? It's like there's subconscious programming in our beliefs that we have to reprogram, which will help our thoughts, right? So even just like a little like tip I can give is when you're breaking down the feeling of how like a trigger is a teacher, it's showing you something. And it's a great way to start to like uncover your beliefs. So you can either work with someone who can intuitively look into some of those like patterns and deep-seated beliefs to help you reprogram them, or you can start to think about it yourself. what do I believe? If we're thinking about money, it's like, what are your beliefs about money? Do you think you can only get money from a 9 to 5 job, or that it's hard to come by, or that people that have money, are evil, or you have to work really, 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 really hard. You have to sacrifice everything in order to make money? You uncover what those beliefs are. And then you need to prove to your brain, and you have to have repetition here, because we have neural pathways that are so deep in our brain based on the beliefs that we hold that keep just feeding back, right? Like thought, memory, belief, thought, memory, belief, thought, memory. It's the same belief that we have and the same thoughts that we're having every single day that are keeping us in this loop. You have to suffocate that old neural pathway, and it requires a lot of conscious effort, and it requires a lot of like consciously proving the opposite to be true, right? Because energy can never be just created or destroyed. So it doesn't mean that the positive isn't there, right? You're just focusing on, with a wild focus, what you focus on, you get more of. And so that's what's repeating and showing up. So there's mechanisms in our brain, like a reticular activating system, which is a filter system in our brain, which is basically matching all the experiences we have to our beliefs. So like, imagine if we didn't have that filter system and we were taking in like other people's thoughts and all the information that was going on, we wouldn't be able to focus. We'd go crazy. So this part of our brain is, there to help us, but it's matching what are all the experiences that are happening that marry to this belief. And it's going to keep proving that back to you. So it's like the mirror, and then our brain is working with that. So like, I always think about if you were to go to like a festival or a concert and I was looking for you, let's say we got separated. And I'm like, all right, Brittany has blonde hair. Maybe you're wearing your hair in like a high ponytail. You're wearing a bright pink shirt. Like we can filter through a crowd of people to look for what we're looking for. Okay, there's Brittany, right? Our brain is doing that all day with our experiences, but it's just matching it to our beliefs. So if your belief is I'm not good enough, you're going to go out through the day and someone's going to slam, not hold the door open for you, or they're going to mess up your coffee order. And like all of these things are happening. And that's what your brain's picking up on. Okay, Stephanie believes she's not good enough. Let's prove to her, not good enough here, not good enough here, not good enough here. But you missed out that in between all of those, there was a moment that showed that you were good enough in a micro moment. Maybe somebody smiled at you. Maybe someone helped pick something up for you, right? Like we're missing all of these moments because our brain is built to focus on our beliefs. And until you become aware of them, which is why people always say awareness is step one, becoming aware of what they are, being conscious and getting out of the subconscious brain, because 95% of our thoughts are coming from our subconscious brain every day. Most people don't know what that is. And our brain is formed, our subconscious brain is formed from ages 0 to 7 when we're in a theta brainwave state. And so all of our programs, like a computer, are being built from that time. And now we're in our 30s and our beliefs are still tying back to when we were, 6 years old.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot to think about, but I think it is accurate, and you see the world how you want to see it, it's, which some people don't want to hear, but I actually think it's very empowering because that means that you can change it, right? Like, so you don't have to be in that negative mindset or that victim mindset where you see the negative every day or anything like that. And there's a couple things. A favorite quote my husband and I say to each other in the morning is, it's a great day to have a great day. And it's kind of just like putting it out there of like, let's just have a great day today. Like, let's just have a freaking great day. Like, no matter what, we're working, we're tired, we're this, we're that. Like, it doesn't matter. Let's just have a great day. And you look outside and it's sunny and it's May, and May is such a lovely month of the year. Like, and there you go. You have a great day. Like it doesn't have to be so intense in almost a way. And then the other thing I'll say is I also like the reflective piece of it that my husband and I also do is at the end of the day, we will do a gratitude practice with each other, and we will always point out the good things that happened in the day. And that has been really, really great for training both of us to see the good. So even if you have the worst day ever, it's like, wow, you made me a cup of coffee today, and that was so nice of you. Thank you so much. Like, that just made my day. You know what I mean? So it's like looking for the positive. And I have a family member who just comes to mind, who is quite negative. And every time she tells me something negative, I always try to spin it. And I always say like, yeah, but I'm seeing you this weekend and I can't wait to see you. I always try to like flip it to positive. and try to help her become more positive. Because man, when people are in that negative mindset, it can be so hard to get them out of it and to be almost like not happy or just like more content of a person.
Yeah, those are amazing. You're literally like setting your intention for the day of like giving your brain something to focus on, that it's a great day. And then you're reiterating it at the end of the day by tying it back to that original intention for the belief. So that is like incredible that you're doing that. And yes, like there's like two parts of like the thinking positive thing, because you don't want to not address how you're really feeling, like shove it down and kind of ignore it and push it aside and like flip it to a positive. If you have these deeper seated beliefs, this is why, like for affirmations, why affirmations don't work for people is because the conscious brain and the subconscious brain like speak two different languages, right? So if you're saying something like, I am a millionaire, you don't believe that at all. It's not going to work. It's just going to like fly out of your brain into the abyss, right? So like saying the positive thing, if you don't believe it, isn't really going to change the like chemical, right? Because you have a deeper seated belief about it. So when you're doing affirmations, I always say, do like a brain reprogramming statement, like the scale of believability that your brain can get on board. So instead of saying like, I am skinny, if you are going through a weight loss journey, right? It's like, I am losing weight. I am losing weight every day, or I'm getting better and better every day. I'm making better choices every day. You know, more and more abundant. I see more and more abundance around me every day, right? Like, what are ways that you can like craft a statement that you can state that your brain like believes? And this is another way with like intuition. Feel how that feels in your body, right? Like saying a negative statement, saying something you don't believe is also a way to uncover your beliefs. Say a statement, an I am statement. If you feel like your body's shutting down, like it doesn't believe it, that's like, oh, okay, I need to program it, what that belief is. Versus you say like, I'm getting better and better every day. Like that feels like my shoulders are back. It feels good in my body. Like I can get behind that, you know?
Yeah, no, I love that. It's almost like easier to take on and make part of your life is like when you kind of break it down into such like smaller pieces. I will say with the affirmations thing, like I've done affirmations like in so many different ways throughout my life. For me, the thing that actually helps is to write it down and put it somewhere that I'm going to see all the time, because I can't just have the single thought of it, or I can't just say, oh, I'll meditate it on tonight, like later today or whatever. Like I have to see it. I have to think about it. It has to become like part of me. And so one of the best ways I've ever done is like I've made like sticky notes and I put them on my monitor in my home office. So I see it all day, 5 days a week. And what I actually did was like forever ago, oh my gosh, it was so long ago. I drew this photo of me, my husband, my dog, and my first kid, which was a boy. And I put it there. And this is like before we even starting to like try to get pregnant or anything. But I just used to stare at it and be like, okay, like I'm manifesting this kid coming one day. Like, you know what I mean? And so I just think there is something to be said about reoccurring, helping the thought to reoccur and then helping it to become a reality.
100%. And for anyone that isn't doing affirmations, or they have like trouble with it, and I think in general, like it's a great thing. You want to try emotions. Emotions are powerhouse to it, and a memory, right, is going to create the neural pathway quicker and easier. So if you have an affirmation of like, I am a star, right? Like that's where you know, that's the like thing you want to embody, and that's what you have everywhere. Where are times in the past that you can remember being a star, or someone said you were a star in somewhere in your life? Maybe you like did something great at work, or you helped someone, or you felt that feeling. Tie that memory and the emotion to the statement. So every time you look at it, it's recalling that. Right? There are these like NLP techniques that you can do where you can anchor in different like emotions. So it's kind of doing that without the like technique, but it's tying, like our brain wants to tie the memory and the emotion. An emotion is going to hide it, which is why people get in these negative states, because they have so many memories and emotions that tied to that point to be true. So it's like a layer you can add to it to like really get your brain on board. And then, yeah, you are like manifesting that, which manifesting, you have to be able to like take it off of a pedestal, not this thing that you don't believe is possible for you, that you want so bad, or that without it, you aren't, and be able to like let it go in the knowing that it's already true. So that also helps with like manifesting and vision boards, because our brain doesn't know the difference between real and imagined, which is why when people relive traumatic experiences, it affects you. You can feel how that feels right now as if it's happening. Our brain doesn't know the difference, which is why visualization really works, and being able to actually like manifest and see things happening. It's just that layer of like, do you believe it? Are you holding on to it and being like, well, I need to do this. I need to do this because that's what I need to get on my vision board, right? Or you just see it and you're like, I know this is true. I don't need to grasp and hold on to the control on it. I know that it is already true.
I love that. I really love that. I think, yeah, there's so many different things that you can do to help with that. Like, I mean, even, yeah, when I was first starting my business and like, wasn't making any money or anything like that. And I would listen to like playlists on Spotify that were about making money and manifesting and like bringing in wealth and all of that type of thing. And then with the baby stuff, like very similar, like drawing the photo. Also someone, I don't know, forever ago, someone told me to like actually make space for the baby in your home. Like make a drawer that has a couple of baby things in it. Like put it into reality. It's not just, oh, one day I'm going to have this baby. Like actually make it a thing that you see, and there's physical space in your physical space that is for the baby. And so weird. I actually got sent an Amazon package by mistake. It was like the wrong address, and it was a couple of kids, like babies' hats. And I just kept them and I just put them in one of my clothing drawers. And I was like, well, there you go. Like, this is going to be like, this is starting the clothing for my future kids, whoever they are. And so it's just for those people out there who, again, like just back to the fertility, if that is something that you're struggling with or you're worried about, making that physical space, like bringing it from manifestation into real life, like you can do that. So there's a lot of power for that type of thing.
I love that. I had chills while you were saying that. Like, so like, it's a mindset thing, right? Like you have your business. Imagine if I said to you, like, you don't have a business, right? That wouldn't trigger you. And you would be like, you already know you do. It's like, I already know that is true. But for someone who is maybe trying to start something or trying to create something, and someone says that, right? It's triggering something in you of the belief that it's not possible. And that's really more of a like manifestation technique versus a like healing from the underlying emotional root and all of the triggers. But I always think about like when you're manifesting something, it's the knowing that it's already possible. And some things are easier to manifest than others, and things take time, right? Just because you manifested something. And the reason why I feel that it's gained so much traction is because everybody wants everything without putting in the effort or actually trying, right? There's still the aspect of it that you have to do. You can't like sit in your room and just hope and pray and wish that, the man of your dreams is just going to like knock on your door and like be like, hi, I'm here. You manifested me, right? You have to like take the inspired action of, oh, I actually weirdly feel called to go to this coffee shop that I never go to, and kind of listening to those things and taking the action behind the like manifestation of what you know to be true. If that were true, what would that person do? Right? Like I like to write out a character of like the person that you want to be. So if that person has the business, has the, the husband, the baby, how do they act every day? What do they do? What are they wearing? What are their boundaries? Like, who is that person? What does their day look like? And become that person, like make that character and become the person that has those things, right? Like, how would that person act and behave? So it's like another way as you start to like visualize and think about the becoming process. It's like create who that person is.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Like it's almost like fake it till you make it. Like fake it until you become it. Yeah. And embody it. I guess embody it is a better way of putting it. But yeah, I just think it's so powerful. And yeah, I also love what you said of like, you can manifest it, but you still have to follow through. Like there's still the work that's required. I think people, hold on to manifestation, but don't understand that it could take a long time to get it, much longer than you might think. And it still requires like sacrifice and following your intuition and doing things differently and being uncomfortable and taking risks and like all of these other things. So I think there's a lot of power to what you said. If people want to work with you after this or they want to connect with you, where can they go and how can they do that?
So you can either follow me on Instagram and reach out there. So it's still my maiden name. So at Steph Bodie, or you can go to my website, which is stephkaplan.com. And you can reach out there on applying, which will go to my email on ways that we can work together. But I always have one-on-one sessions, and I have a 3-month program. I have 2 spaces for June for that, which is a kind of 3-month. You get texting access to me. We have 2 calls a month. You get all of the recordings, meditations, energy healings, all of the good things with that.
Amazing. Okay, great. Thank you so much for coming on this podcast. I will definitely put that all in the show notes and on my website so people can easily find you. This was such a great discussion, and I feel like I could just like talk to you forever. So
Oh, no, same. This was lovely. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Biohacking with Brittany. If you're interested in finding the show notes or the sponsors for this episode, you can do so on my website, which is biohackingbrittany.com. Remember to follow me on Instagram, where I'm most active. My handle is @biohackingbrittany. And if you're interested in working together and you want to email me directly, you can do that. My email is info@biohackingbrittany.com. And I look forward to hearing from you and having you tune in next week.